On this episode of MoviesMerica, we take you into the pit of debauchery and mayhem with a movie that makes The Wolf of Wall Street look like The Notebook. Stay tuned to find out what it is.
In a world where the number of movies available is great, but many are so bad, you'll learn a new definition of hate. One man sifts and reviews through the movie sludge. One man will be the movie cop, jury, and judge. He goes by many names, but you know him by MoviesMerica.
Welcome on in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, into this episode of MoviesMerica. And I got to warn you here that this episode, or at least the movie that I'm going to be talking about in this episode, is definitely not for the kiddies, okay? You know what? This is not a review over movies that are for kids, like Disney movies, okay, maybe Disney movies aren't for kids anymore, if you know what I'm saying there. But anyway, I will not be showing any of the sleaziness of the movie that I'll be talking about in this episode right here. And that movie would be called Babylon. I have to say that the opening scene in this movie is really what I always pictured what the Hotel California would be like. The famous song from Eagles in the 70s. Whenever I listen to that song, I just picture in my head this party and revelry, just full of disgusting, salacious, depraved acts, just like you see in the opening scene with this party of Hollywood's elite, and in this house/castle that they're having. And it's basically the party that you see in the only trailer that I've seen for Babylon. And I just, wow. And, hey, if this movie is trying to show what at least Damien Chazelle, the director, thought was going on, in 1920s and 1930s Hollywood, well, you have to show it, right? In all its sick, unpolished glory. Okay, everybody, let me take this opportunity to ask you to like this video if you would, and subscribe to my channel here. We got MoviesMerica is the name of the channel if you're watching this on YouTube. We also have the Till Death Podcast Network channel you can subscribe to as well on YouTube. Also, I've got MoviesMerica on Rumble as well. You can subscribe to me there. And if you're just listening to it on a podcast, the audio-only version, then, yeah, it's on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, any platform you could possibly imagine that would have podcasts on it. And if you happen to be on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or Spotify, you can rate this podcast, MoviesMerica. And, if you give it a 5-star rating, that would be fantastic. But again, like this video, subscribe to this channel. I'm going to bring even more content to you, even better than this. It's just going to keep getting better and better, everybody. I tell you, when I lie to you. So I have to say that this movie is like if Paul Thomas Anderson and Baz Luhrmann did a movie together. It's got the feel and the vibe to it that feels like Boogie Nights and Magnolia, Paul Thomas Anderson's earlier movies, and then it also has flavors of Baz Luhrmann in it as well. From a regard of the music, this movie has a lot of music in it, like your typical Baz Luhrmann movie has in it, and it's also got this high energy, frenzied, frenetic editing and pacing that Baz Luhrmann movies has, where it's just all over the place. Just colors and explosive imagery in your face, the whole time, like a Baz Luhrmann movie is. And as far as Paul Thomas Anderson goes, and Boogie Nights in particular, there's a scene in this that reminds me of that Alfred Molina scene in Boogie Nights, where Mark Wahlberg and John C. Reilly and Thomas Jane go to Alfred Molina's house to rip him off. And you've got like the Asian guy in the background with the firecrackers constantly going, and you've got the Night Ranger sister Christian motoring. What's your price for flight? Just that playing, and I think a Rick Springfield song, Jesse's Girl, plays as well. And so all that to say that there's a scene like that in Babylon that just so happens to involve Tobey Maguire in it. And you'll know the scene that I'm talking about, no doubt, if you watch Babylon here. And it's funny because Tobey Maguire in this, he looks like if Peter Parker became a crackhead in this. He's creepy in this role. And the scene is very entertaining, okay? Very entertaining. So let me give you a synopsis of Babylon. So this movie is about the craziness and debauchery that happened in the late 1920s in Hollywood, early 1930s, when Hollywood actors were, now they were celebrities, right? They're bigger than life. Everyone, wants to touch them and get a hold of them and be associated with them. They're gods in Hollywood. They're making money hand over fist. And so they're having drunken parties and orgies and running all over town, causing all kinds of trouble, and they're untouchable. And it's basically just like, Babylon in the Bible, right? Because the Hollywood version of it. And it also goes into like the uglier, darker side of Hollywood, and that getting famous isn't all that it's cracked up to be, and doing metric ton quantities of drugs probably doesn't help either, and these people basically being very emotionally unstable, even without them being celebrities, being involved, also doesn't help. But that's, in a nutshell, what Babylon is all about. Okay, well, it wouldn't be a MoviesMerica episode without our main attraction here at the MoviesMerica amusement park, right? Okay, you must be this tall to ride this ride. Just a warning, all right? And no pregnant women, okay? And that ride would be where I sample a beer here on this episode, because, as you all know, this isn't just the home of movie reviews, it's the home of ice cold brews. And one such example is we've got the Southern Star Texas Punch, or Southern Star Brewing Company Texas Punch here. And this is out of Conroe, Texas, okay? And it's not too bad here. It's got some richness to it, and it's got kind of like a very, very, very slight molasses flavor to it. Okay, very slight. Okay, and also I always have to say that I'm not getting any money from any of the breweries, whose beers I guess review on these episodes right here. Okay, but yeah, I mean, if you can get your hands on Southern Star Texas Punch. I think like GoPuff.com is like a website where I think you can get beers from anywhere, delivered anywhere, something like that. Again, I'm not getting any money from them either, but I just don't want to hog all the good beer, right? I want you to be able to get your hands on it as well, okay? But enough yapping about the beer. How about I take a drink? Yeah, like a good healthy drink. Just like that. So, but yeah, with that, on with the show. So, you will, I'm very, very sure, because I know I did. It's not, you won't just because I did, but I'm pretty confident that you will find that this resembles Wolf of Wall Street, or this movie resembles a Wolf of Wall Street, okay? Because it doesn't hold back whatsoever on depicting, the hedonistic, disgusting, depraved, parties / orgies that they have in this movie. And you know what? I mean, if that's what the movie's about, then it shouldn't hold back, right? Okay? I mean, the movie's rated R. you've got fair warning not to bring your kids to this thing, okay? And you're a consenting adult coming to this movie. So yeah, I mean, let it rip, right? It's all fake anyway, right? But it's it doesn't hold back. That's one thing about this movie I do respect, is that it pulls no punches whatsoever with the depiction of just the depravity and Babylon-like qualities. Just people just getting it on and just doing every drug under the sky, and just doing disgusting lewd things and that kind of thing. And I'm not saying I approve of that, but if your idea behind your movie is to showcase that, or to have a movie that tells like, hey, this happened, I don't condone it, but I'm making a movie that shows that this happened, then you have to have that in the movie, right? Now, this movie does also show the dark side of Hollywood. You may have guessed from the way I've described it here so far that it would delve into the dark side of Hollywood, and it most definitely does. Now, there's another movie that you probably haven't seen. Me and probably 3 other people have seen it. It's a movie called Under the Silver Lake. It's got Andrew Garfield that stars in it. And it's another movie that shows a dark side of actual, like, modern-day Hollywood. And this movie doesn't go into that kind of dark side of the Hollywood. It goes kind of more into, where you've got, like, this disgusting depravity going on in Hollywood. There's bound to be the criminal underworld, right? And people just, giving into their lustful base desires and that kind of thing. It's to me, that's a dark thing, right? I think that's a wrong thing. It's not a life you should live. But obviously these characters in this movie, we're listening to yours truly, right? It's just, they're out in Hollywood. Everyone thinks they're gods. They have money is getting thrown at them left and right, along with drugs and women and all that. And so out of that comes the dark side of Hollywood that this movie does showcase. Okay, so Margot Robbie is in this, and she plays one of the main characters named Nellie Leroy. And she is she's like a very good-looking nobody at the beginning of this movie, and then she finds fame, and I'm not going to go into how she finds fame in this movie. And she's she is just a wild child, and that's even before she finds fame. Okay, she goes to this like the party at the beginning of the movie. She's there, and she doesn't know anybody. She's trying to get in. She thinks she's a star, and she goes in there, and she's just taking full advantage of all the depraved offerings of this party going on in there. And I have to say, yeah, I think that she does a very good job in this movie, just portraying, just this loose cannon of a person, even without the fame and the drugs and all that involved. She's just a loose cannon because it sounds like she's had a pretty jacked up childhood and daddy issues and all that, right? The old classic daddy issues. And she does remind me of like Sharon Stone's character in Casino, just like that, just like this, just wild and crazy, just out there. They're going 300 miles an hour, 25 hours a day, 8 days a week. I mean, and that's the vibe I get from her in this movie. It's just Sharon Stone in Casino is exactly what she's like in this. Now, Brad Pitt, he plays Jack Conrad, who is kind of like an Errol Flynn-like character in this, where everyone wants a piece of this guy. I mean, he's like they portray him as he's like the biggest star in Hollywood as of the time this movie takes place, and he's well aware of it. He's got the big house, and he shows up at the party, and everyone wants to talk to him and be around him and that kind of thing. And and of course Brad Pitt looks the way he does, right? He looks like Brad Pitt, so perfect casting for this movie. And I thought it was funny. I saw an interview with him and Margot Robbie and Diego Calva. They're all getting interviewed together for Vanity Fair or something like that. And the interviewer's talking to them like, yeah, this movie it's like all about the the 20s and the 30s and all the disgusting depravity that was going on, all the sex and drugs and all that stuff going on. And Brad Pitt just kind of just tongue in cheek, just says, yeah, sounds like a great time. Yeah. And you just know Brad Pitt being Brad Pitt. I mean, he's been on the scene since the early 90s, after Thelma and Louise and Legend of the Fall. And Brad Pitt, the way he looks and how long he's been on the Hollywood scene, he's seen some of this stuff. Because I refuse to believe that some of the stuff we see in Babylon doesn't take place today, okay? It's just now it takes place with camera phones. Okay, everybody, again, please like this video. Like it. Yep, so that thumbs up that's down there somewhere, thumbs up, that very seductive, enticing thumbs up down there. Yeah, go ahead and like it. If you're on Rumble, I think it's a plus sign, okay? And then, yeah, absolutely subscribe to the MoviesMerica channel if you would. That'd be fantastic. And then, again, if you're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, give it a 5-star rating if you would. I definitely would appreciate it, okay? You're my friends. You're my family. I consider you all that right there. And hopefully you feel that I am giving you some good information about the movies that I bring to you, because I'm trying to give you little nuggets of info and perspective that you don't get anywhere else. Because I know there's 7 million other movie review shows that you could be watching. This one, though, is going to give you little unique, distinct things that you may or may not want to hear. Maybe that's why they're not on other episodes or other shows, okay? But yeah, okay. All that to say, like and subscribe if you would. Thanks. Now, I should mention that none of the characters in this movie actually existed. Okay, Jack Conrad's not real. Nellie Leroy's not real. I think Manny Torres is the other character, the other main character. Diego Calva plays Manny Torres. And I should mention I should mention Manny Torres because he is a main character in the movie. He starts out, he's kind of like a helper, a laborer at the house that the big party at the beginning occurs at. He has to deliver an elephant, and he's got to get drinks, and he's got to tell people where the bathroom's at and that kind of thing. He's kind of that kind of guy, right? And then as the movie progresses, he works his way up the chain in the Hollywood system. I think he ends up becoming in management or something like that, or an executive producer or something like that with the studio in this. But none of these characters are real, or they never existed. I thought they did, because Jack Conrad just sounds like a typical Hollywood name. I know there's Robert Conrad, but Jack Conrad sounds like somebody that actually could have been a big star back in the 20s, right? But yeah, none of them actually existed. Another warning about this movie is I would not be showing this movie to family and friends at a dinner party anytime soon, okay? Because there are some most definite gross out moments in this movie, okay? And this movie doesn't waste any time at all, because there is a massive gross out moment actually towards the beginning of the movie, really at the beginning of the movie, even before the party gets started, and it is graphic, okay? There's no camera pull away at the last second. There's no designed or intended lack of focus or anything like that in it. It is full bore gory glory in this moment at the beginning. And if you got your friends over for a dinner party, they will be spitting up their foie gras and their caviar, okay, at this. They'll all lose their appetites, I promise you. And then I'll just say it involves some elephant crap. Okay, I'll tell you that, all right? So, yeah. And then Towards the end of the movie, there's another really gross out movie there involving a rat. And again, you'll know if you do decide to watch this movie after those descriptions, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And so at the gross out moment towards the beginning of the movie with the elephant crap there, I was thinking to myself, oh, it's going to be that kind of movie. All right. Now, this movie did have some funny moments, and it did have some crack up moments. And kind of like Wolf of Wall Street that I keep mentioning, okay? I mean, with the gross out stuff and all the, all the sex and drugs and overall depravity, it does have some funny moments in there. Just for example, there's one in particular where they tell Manny Torres that he has to smooth things over with the extras that they have for this war movie that they're doing, and all the extras happen to be like homeless guys that they picked up off the street, okay? So these homeless guys are grumbling and just looking for blood because they feel they're not getting paid enough or whatever. And so there's this big group, mob of them, like an army of them. And so they tell Manny Torres, hey, you got to go and you smooth things over with them. And, of course, he's never done anything like this before, right? It's just he's along for the ride because Brad Pitt liked him from the party. And just, remember, Manny Torres before this point has been, like, telling people where the bathroom's at the party and fetching drinks and that kind of thing. And now he's like, hey, now you have to go smooth things over with all these extras at this movie set, okay? And so Brad Pitt and Lucas Haas, who's also in this movie, they're up on a hill and they're like discussing, hey, so what should we do about this scene over here? And then in the background, like down the mountain, you can see, things aren't going so well for old Manny because then they just show him getting chased by this angry army of stinky, nasty, homeless dudes. while Brad Pitt and Lucas Haas are just like in the foreground, just talking about, like, oh yeah, we should probably put the lighting over there, and hey, I wonder the sun's right there. Hey, can we get Heather over here to do some makeup and all that right there? So all the while behind them, Manny's like on the verge of death. And then towards the beginning of the movie, like I already mentioned, the elephant, right? There's some funny imagery, like watching an elephant getting hauled up this mountain in this little truck. I mean, I personally thought that was funny. But yeah, so point being is that there are some funny moments in Babylon. Now, I have to say, I was actually fascinated, without condoning, I was fascinated by just how hedonistic and debaucherous, I'm using that word a lot in this, I know, but this movie, Babylon, calls for that word to be used a lot, debaucherous. But yeah, all the hedonism and debauchery and depraved, sleazy stuff in this movie. I was fascinated by all that happening in this just because of the progress of moving pictures, of motion pictures, of movie making, right? Because at this point, so this is the late 1920s, early 1930s, and really what the first motion picture was the guy on the horse, created in 1878. I mean, that's, to a lot of people, that's like the first motion picture. So we progressed from a 1 minute long video of a man on a horse, okay, to the big movies of the 1920s and 1930s. And so in those decades, the movie making scene had gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and had snowballed into what you see in this movie here. And it snowballed so much that, yeah, it just led to all this just sleazy, nasty, debauchery, there's that word again, that you see in this movie. And that just fascinates me, how it just goes from this innocent little creative revolutionary thing, the motion pictures, to this, what you see in this movie. The production design. I would be remiss if I did not mention the production design in this movie and how impressive it was, okay? They do a fantastic job at portraying just the architecture and the interiors of the buildings that would have been around in the 1920s, 1930s. And it's kind of haunting, okay, when I think back to it and when you're watching the movie, because back in the 1920s, 1930s, when this is all going on, I mean, they thought that, okay, they are the pinnacle of civilization. They're the pinnacle of existence. Just the lavish, fancy hotel rooms and party rooms and banquet rooms and houses and all that stuff that they live in. They thought, this is it. This is the pinnacle. It's not going to get any better than this, or it's pretty good for right now. But yeah, the production design is meticulous, and it really does, intentionally or unintentionally, kind of have a unnerving creepiness to it. And let me take that back. I'm sure that's not what they're intending, but to me, just the way that I saw it, that's kind of the vibe I got from it. You know what? Maybe you will too. Maybe not. Now, this movie is very entertaining, I thought. Now, is it a great movie? In a word, no. I don't think it's a great movie, but it is very entertaining. But it did have way too many tropes of movies that deal with Hollywood, whether it's Hollywood of today or Hollywood in some time in the past, like this movie. You've got the rags to riches characters. You've got the character that Brad Pitt plays of the fading celebrity, and you got like notorious Hollywood. You have like a notorious Hollywood gossip columnist in this. That kind of reminds me of like Danny DeVito's character in L.A. Confidential, kind of like that. But you have this Hollywood gossip columnist that is played by Gene Smart in this movie. Gene Smart has made a nice little second career for herself, I have to say, in movies here and in TV. Remember way back in the 80s? Now, I didn't watch the show a whole lot, but it was called Designing Women. So Gene Smart was in that show, and then she disappeared for a long time, and now she's recrafted herself in a whole new second career. Anyway, but I'm remiss. But yeah, so it's just the tropes are kind of predictable in this movie. Now, I should mention the soundtrack. So Justin Hurwitz is the composer for this, and his soundtrack has a very heavy jazz sound to it, featuring a lot of trumpet in it, which I think is fantastic. It sounds great in the movie. And if you watch a trailer for Babylon, you'll get an impression as far as what I'm talking about. It's just music that's suitable for what's going on in this movie, right? They're all having a good time, right? You need some good time music to go along with the good times. And so it's very jazzy, very trumpet heavy. Pardon me. Woo. Beer is getting to me. Beer has an effect. So Justin Hurwitz, again, is the composer. And if you don't like anything else about the movie, I think you'll like the soundtrack to it. It's that's one of the standouts to it. But I probably plan on like buying the soundtrack, because it definitely will pep you up for the day. Now, before this movie starts, and you may see this in your theater or not, in my theater that I saw it, I did see it. But Margot Robbie and Diego Calva, they do like a thank you video that shows before the movie even starts. And it reminded me of like what Tom Cruise did, thanking fans before Top Gun Maverick came out, which is nice. But, Hollywood, it's nice that you're doing the thank you and all that, but we don't need that. We don't expect that. If you do it, that's fine, but if you're doing it to try to get back fans, or try to get more people back in the theaters and whatnot, that's not what's going to do it. Or, that'll help. But there's another thing that you could do without actually having to go to the extra mile in thanking us, okay? You could just not insult fans, okay? You could just not go out and call fans or blame fans if your movie flops, if your TV series flops, okay? We got too many examples of when actors come out, and when I say actors, I mean actors and actresses. They come out and they'll call fans sexist. They'll call them racist. They'll say, wow, my movie flopped or my TV show flopped because fans couldn't handle a couple of women, starring in a show, or, they didn't like people of color, having prominent roles and that kind of thing. So if you didn't see this movie, you're a racist. or you didn't see this movie, and you didn't celebrate girl power, you're sexist. All you have to do is stop doing that, okay? And you can save the thank yous for someone else. You don't have to do the thank you videos, okay? Just do what actors did for decades, back when actors had common sense. And their common sense told you, don't bite the hand that feeds you, because newsflash, celebrities, you don't make anything. You definitely don't make the millions without us fans, all right? That money that you're spending on the Ferraris and the Maybachs and $8 million mansions, that's our money, all right? You don't make that money. You don't get those perks of being a celebrity without us. So check yourself. That's all you need to do, okay? We don't need thank you videos, which, again, it's nice, but you better not do that, but then still rip on fans and blame fans because, you know, you made a crappy movie or you made a crappy TV show and you want to blame fans so you can sleep better at night for your TV show, your movie crapping out at the box office or on TV, okay? So check yourself. Don't forget, we put that money in your pocket. All right, so hey, you know what? As of when I recorded this, now Babylon, as of when I recorded this, actually is considered a bomb, okay? And it's considered a bomb because I think it costs like $75 million to make, and as of right now, as of this recording, it's made like $4 million. So $75 million, I don't know what I'm doing with my hand here, $75 million to make, and then it makes $4 million, $4 million dollars, okay? Not good, okay? So get out there. I would recommend checking this out. Again, don't bring the urchins, okay? Don't bring the kiddies to this, okay? If you're parents and you take your kids to this, wow. All right. You need some self-examination, my friend. Okay? But yeah, so I would go and I would check out this movie. If you don't see it at the theater, it's no big deal, okay? All right. With that here, you know, please like this video, subscribe to the MoviesMerica channel, also to the Till Death Podcast Network channel as well. On Rumble, I'm out there under MoviesMerica as well. And I'm on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, all those great platforms, all right? Again, thanks a lot for listening or watching. And with that, hey, everybody, get out there. Those movies aren't going to watch themselves. Ciao. Oh, yeah. Don't leave quite yet. No. Hey, the night is still so young and you didn't get that babysitter for nothing. Come on. It's like something o'clock. Okay, right now. Okay, so stay here and like this video if you would. Subscribe to the channel. That'd be fantastic. Hey, and while I'm in the asking mood over here, because I'm just partying up here, and so should you, watch these videos over here if you would. Oh, yeah. All the cool kids are doing it, and then like them if you would. Absolutely, okay? Hey, and with that, thanks for watching this video, and MoviesMerica and Till Death Podcast Network. All right, let's party it up.